Yes, everyone, welcome back to the Spur. Oops, sorry, I'm going to switch mics because it's a lot better sounding with this one. Yes, everyone, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. Jack here, joined by Mia from Spurs Between the Lines. Going to provide you guys a quick live show today, going through some of the transfer news, plenty of outgoings. That's what we're going to be mostly talking about today. And then also talking about some of the potential incomings, looking like maybe they might not happen, or at least some complications could be occurring in them, at least when it comes to Conor Gallagher, as well as when it comes to Olise and Eze as well. In the case that Olise seems to be going to Chelsea, or at least they've initiated the discussions and have made some progress in that department. And then it kind of just made me want to ask the question, would Crystal Palace even dare to sell both of those players in the same summer? Can they afford to? Is that something they've already prepared for? So it would be a great deal to get Eze over, but we might want to get him over the line before Chelsea or any other club were to get Olise over the line, because I find it hard to imagine that Crystal Palace would even want to sell both of those guys in the same summer. That would be hard for them to recover from. But joined by Mia, I asked plenty of people. It's a summer, of course, not much news out there, but I thought there was enough to put out a quick live show, and people are busy enjoying their summer evenings, and Mia has done me a great service in helping me out. So anything going on with you, Mia? Spurs wise, it's pretty dead until I guess this moment. I've
Yeah,
a bunch of news until up to this
Joe, it's difficult because, see, with me, I do my early morning updates, and it's difficult because you sort of put the news out there, and then you obviously get some criticism of why are you saying it? It's all just paper talk, and it's a bit like there isn't really much to talk about, so you sort of have to try and muddle your way through some of the stuff that's true and what's not, and you have to sort of figure out and do a bit of research and get credible people that are more credible and report on it. But it is hard because you're just like, is this credible? Because when I actually put out the Ndombele news quite quick, because I was quite confident that it was going to happen because the source was good, everyone was reporting it the way it was being reported. And obviously it's always a risky one, but I did, like I say, try and be responsible with what I report on, but it is difficult. And yes, King Hoddle, Dave does look very different. I've not got the Irish accent either, which is really sad because I like the Irish accent.
And Dave's let the hair grow out a bit more as well, and he's sounding a lot more kind of Londonish, a lot more like a Londoner this time. I would say with kind of the news, Mia, I think you got to report on them. I'm usually all talk, less paper. But with the news, it feels like Spurs, it's just the beginning of the window. There's not really much that can happen with the Euros also coming about. Lots of players, I think, will end up telling their agents or telling their representatives, I don't really want to hear about any interest, don't want to be distracted by any type of negotiations or transfers or anything like that. They usually will tell their agents to wait till the end, or at one point till it's maybe convenient for them to start thinking about it. So what can happen is outgoings, incomings, they can all be delayed. But I actually think Spurs have already had a slightly eventful start to the window. And again, it hasn't technically even started, but I think they've had a slightly eventful one to begin with Timo Werner breaking the internet to begin with, to get things started. And then also the rumors of some of the youngsters kind of, being included in Ange's system. We've been getting a lot of news about that. And then there's been other kind of rumors for Richarlison, saying I'm not going anywhere. And I'm missing some other ones too. But I think it has been pretty eventful for us. And the Eze news is heating up. And I don't know. I think Spurs, for the most part, it hasn't been too quiet.
No, we've had some things going on. Obviously, we've released players. Obviously, the Ndombele news was massive for us to be able to do that. So that was big news. So yeah, we've definitely had some things going on.
Yeah. Well, everyone, like I said, it's just going to be a quick transfer update. I got plenty of slides that we're going to get through. Me and Mia are going to discuss about. And Dave should be back tomorrow for our tifo watch along for the Germany versus Scotland game. Like I said, he's just not been feeling well since I think he had a change in medication. And I think it takes a while for your body and everything like that to adjust to it and get back to any sense of kind of thinking straight, feeling normal. So Dave should be strong enough to get back tomorrow. Please, everybody, when you see him back tomorrow, welcome him back. It'd be good to have Big Dave back with us. But we're going to keep things moving as best we can on this channel while he's absent. But if you can for us, smash that like button, get in those comments, and also as well, I put in the beginning of the chat. Please subscribe over to Mia's channel, Spurs Between the Lines. Show her some love, please. This summer, doing plenty of reports on the news and doing even a better job than I can because she can wake up earlier than I can. She's a bit sharper in the morning than me, so she'll deliver those transfer news to you nice and early.
I love
And
that. To be fair.
yeah,
And also, and it's exclusive because my members, what I do is I put it out earlier for my members, so they get it half an hour earlier as well. So
even better, even better. You heard it from Mia there. Everybody's just actually quickly forgive my poor manners here, everyone. Just going to welcome some people in the house who have joined us early. We have Rekka Menon, good to see you. MV Joker Davis Edwards in here. I wanted Ito. I'm upset Byron got him. If you do a little digging into the story behind Ito, I think MV Joker Davis, he is a brilliant player. Doesn't look like maybe he's a brilliant person, and I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to kind of dig into too much of that stuff. But I think if you wanted to find more about him, might not be too upset that he ended up going to Bayern. We have FDF. We need Vifer. Hijack him to Milan. I've heard about him. He's supposed to be a good player. We have Michael in the house too. Dragon D's Nuts, Shamtan. Really appreciate you both, Dragon D's Nuts as well as Shamtan, as members. We have Ear of Van de Go saying 68 million is a release clause. I think that's when it comes to Olise. But the question I'm really asking Ear is more about would they sell them both this summer? Because then that means it's a bit of a race to who gets one of the players. If we get Eze first, does that mean no one gets Olise? Or if they get Olise, does that mean no one gets Eze? That's my question. And I think it's a pretty fair one to be asking. Martin Knightsbridge says, afternoon, Jack and Mia. Hope you're both good. Yeah, Martin, I think we're doing okay. Hopefully you're enjoying the start of your summer. Joshua's in the house too. Good to see you. King Hoddle's in the house. Good to see King Hoddle. Paul Connor, the absolute legend. That is Paul Connor. Tiger299. Trust is in here. LK. Ribsy85. Good to see you, Ribsy. And let's get things moving. Let's get things started, Mia. We have Emerson Royale. Looks like this thing's going to get done. There's optimism that a deal can be reached to send Emerson Royale to AC Milan after Spurs lowered their demands with the hopes of shifting a player who has been surplus to requirements. That's from Tom Allnut of the Sunday Times. I feel like they've gotten this done relatively quickly, Mia, and it looks like Spurs are being quite ruthless here with Emerson Royale and hopefully with future outgoings. Or am I just giving them too much credit?
No, I do think we've done something a little bit different that we haven't done before, Jack, because if you think about it, we've released players. I think before, when they've had an extension, we would have been like, oh, let's just extend them for a bit longer. But we did actually allow them to go. And with Emerson, to lower the price, you know what Levy's like with money. For him to lower that price means that he's been told, listen, I want him gone. And Levy actually looks like possibly he could be listening finally. I hope that's the case. I hope we do get it done. Obviously, nothing's finalised yet. But I'm hoping that we are going to be ruthless because we did allow Ndombele to go, like I said, and we wouldn't have done that before. So I'm hoping there has been a shift in mindset when it comes to these players and what they're worth. We have to be realistic about it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. With Emerson, I feel like they have been getting this done, or at least moving it along relatively quickly. I think they started at a higher fee when he already had other suitors, I think, from other clubs, and they started at a higher fee. Looks like Emerson made it quite clear to them that AC Milan is his preferred destination. Spurs haven't made it that hard on Emerson, it looks like, by saying, no, we're only going to listen to the biggest offer from Villarreal or other clubs that I think have been reported of being linked with him. They decided, okay, we'll let you get this deal done. We're not going to just agree to everything AC Milan have said. And it feels like we're going with this like Italian English Levy battle. Like AC Milan seemed to have a bit of a Daniel Levy on the other side, where they're kind of contesting over like 1 or 2 million difference. I think we quoted, what was it, 20 million pounds or 20 million euros, and they're in for like 16 or 17. Like we're talking about like a few millions difference here. It looks like this is gonna. From the beginning, it looked like this was going to get done for me, Mia. Once AC Milan and Spurs started quoting a difference of 3 or 4 million pounds or so. And yeah, if they're going to get it done, it looks like by pretty much the start of the window, that then means we can get another right back in through the door. Vonderson, however you pronounce his name, might be the target or the guy that they try to bring in. What do you make of that? And the fact that he seems very different to Emerson, and you know, he's like small Pedro Porro style, kind of more in possession, is really good, questionable defensively. Are you okay with that? That the backup that we're going for is going to be similar to Pedro Porro?
I think so, because I think it's the way that he wants to play, and I think that when we change it, we're more likely to change it from midfield and from the front three. So I don't know, like, I think he wants them to do the same job. So I think that's why that Emerson isn't suitable. And I think that Porro has got better defensively. I think you can learn that, but going forward is the important part. So I think that he probably thinks that that's a bit higher on his list for what he wants from somebody.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why we're looking at somebody like that.
For me with Emerson, I think this deal is probably going to get done for, I'd imagine, around 16 or 17. If AC Milan do push to 20, I would be surprised because it seems like a lot of clubs don't really like to let Daniel Levy win in this kind of negotiations, but they are willing to partake, I guess, in this back and forth, this kind of useless, back and forth of pricing. With Vanderson, I kind of liked that Emerson was different to Porro. I think we needed an upgrade on Emerson. Don't get me wrong. He eventually wasn't going to be good enough for this system or what Postecoglou wants. Just felt like, though, that we did benefit from having someone that just offered something different to Porro. He was stronger defensively. Emerson, good in the air, had maybe more safeness about him when he was trying to play passes, when he was trying to build up in possession, didn't take as many risks, which sometimes can be a good thing. I don't know. I kind of liked the difference that Emerson brought. I think we still needed someone better, but yeah, there was a slight maybe benefit to having someone that just offered something different, or maybe just Ange is a guy that needs all the players to operate and be similar to each other, and
See, I don't
he
think
wants
he
that
does.
fluidity. Hmm.
See, I don't think he does. I think in the midfield, like I say, in the front three, I think he wants someone. I think he wants difference. I think he wants that ability to change it. But with the back, I think he wants stability in what they do, because I think it's important for them to be able to play out from the back and go forward, because that's a massive part of what we do. And if we need to change it, we need to maybe, like, we use more of the midfield and the front three to do that more than we would the back. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, everyone, it looks like Emerson Royale could be leaving or should be leaving sometime soon. I'm going to put my foot down and, put my neck out there and say that this looks like it's going to happen unless something dramatic were to come about and this falls through. Seems like this would be one of the first bigger outgoings, 20 million in the piggy bank to work with to replace with someone like Vanderson. It makes a lot of sense. And I don't expect that Vanderson's going to be too expensive for us. So decent business by Spurs. Just last question maybe on it, Mia. Do you think Spurs are going to go for something around the same price that they probably get for Emerson, something around this 20 million mark?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I don't think we're going to break the bank when it's going to be somebody who is, they're going to be fighting for the place possibly, but I don't think they're going to break the bank. I think if we're going to break the bank, it will be somebody more attacking that we'll break the bank for.
Good to see some people in the house. Simon Cohen, big up to you, Simon Cohen. Hopefully you're keeping well. Tiger's glad that Ndombele left. Big D, thank you, Big D. Good to see you. And doing our best to try to fill in for Dave. And Mia's doing a great job co-hosting with me for this one, the Big D. And Dave and I were planning. And yeah, what were you about to say?
And also, I can't really fill many people's shoes because I'm about a size 3. So
she's got to put on 2 shoes in order to fill Dave's. As do I, probably. The guy's got that much of a presence on screen. But big up, Big D, and thank you for your support. And I'm glad that Ndombele is gone. I got a question on this later, the Big D, but something for you to mull about. With Ndombele going, Brian Hill going, Hojbjerg leaving, I could be missing another player, Lo Celso. Lots of big wages there, and all of them non-homegrown players, which technically frees up a lot of space for us, right? The Big D frees up a lot of cap for Spurs to be able to bring in, I'd imagine, a big transfer this summer if you want to be hopeful about that. Good to see Michael from Poland is in the house too. He's joining us. We have Paul Connor in here. He's saying that's what we need, players that can slot right in the right back and play the same style. It will be good to see them fighting for that place, but they will both get played as we have 50 plus matches. I have a siren passing me, so do you agree with Paul?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, to be honest with you, Paul. I was saying that I think that they will both get time, and to have somebody in the back, I think, needs to be Porro-esque because of the way that we actually play as well. So
yeah, for sure. Paul, I'm gonna go with whatever Spurs have brought in because I'd imagine that Ange Postecoglou has had a big say in it, and if they're gonna if they go after players that are similar to the ones we have, then we have a better idea of what Ange likes and maybe his. People hate the word backup, as do you, Paul Connor. I know you hate it, but those competition backup style type of roles in the team. Martin Knightsbridge, thank you for the support. Thank you for the super chat.
Big
Mia
up.
has big shoes to fill and a beard. Well, the beard game, Dave has he kind of goes back and forth. He goes very small, he goes very tight, then sometimes he lets it grow. I say I don't really get kind of change things up that much when it comes to my beard game. And the more, the older I've gotten and the more I find myself getting sunburned this summer, Martin, I'm becoming more ginger as well with my beard this summer, which some people think is probably a good thing. Some people maybe not so much. The missus doesn't have much of an issue with it, but yeah, I'm noticing I'm becoming even more ginger by the day.
Joe, what, to be honest with you, if it was down to my cheeky nephew, he'd say that I have probably got a bit of a beard and a moustache. Cheeky little monkey that he is.
And we have Jason Bell in the house. Good to see you, Jason Bell. Thank you, Martin, for supporting the channel. Like I said, hopefully you've had an okay start to your summer, and I really appreciate you. And good to see Mia W in the chat as well. Let's get things moving, though. This is definitely some news that I'm not sure how Mia is going to react to it, so I might as well pass it over to her first. Real Madrid, apparently interested in Romero. This is coming from reports from his home country and ESPN. Football Argentina. Real Madrid have approached Tottenham over Romero's price. Alistair Gold quickly came back the next day or sometime soon after and said that Spurs are distancing themselves, though, from these Real Madrid links. Mia, let's start here. Surely he isn't going to Real Madrid anytime soon, or are you a little bit worried?
I'm not concerned for this season, but next season I am, Jack. I'm not going to lie, because if we don't win anything, and we all know that Madrid knock is a different kind of knock, no matter how much I tie him up, no matter how much I beg him to stay, I don't think he's going to stay, because I think that is going to be a knock that he can't resist, as we've seen with Bale, we've seen it with Modric. So I think that it's going to be a bit of a worry if we don't win anything next season. I think that could be something he considers, because next season is another year off his contract, and I think he's until 2027, I think. So yeah, you never know. I think they'd have to pay big money if they wanted him this season. They'd have to pay extra big money for him. But the longer it goes on, if he pushes and he says, I want to leave, then I think that it's going to be very, very difficult for us to keep hold of him, unfortunately.
I feel like it's hard because that's a good point with Modric and with Bale. I was talking to someone on the fan show the other day, Mia, though, and I did say, are Spurs maybe in a different position than they used to be with guys like that who were in that world class kind of level where we often had to just sell them when, big clubs came knocking. I think that's still the case for us, but is it less so than it used to be with the case of Modric or the case of Bale, where we have a better chance of fighting off some of these bigger clubs and holding on to them? Do you think things have changed in the case of, now with Romero, or have we slipped a bit backwards now that, Kane has left, Sonny's getting a bit older? Are we kind of back to some of the older days where we did always have to bend over for some of these clubs?
I think with Real Madrid, it's a completely different story, Jack. I think no matter who we get in, if Madrid come knocking, it's different, man. It's just different, because most Argentinian players as well would absolutely love to play for Real Madrid, regardless. So I think that we have got slightly better. I know what happened with Kane, but I think Kane was it's been a long time coming with Kane. I think Kane was expected. I argued with Dave, didn't I, over the summer, saying he was going to leave, and he was arguing with me. People were telling me in the chat, and I was like, I'm adamant that he is going to leave. So I think that was a little bit of a long time coming thing. But as far as other players are concerned, I think if we continue to progress, I think we can keep hold of players. But I think that progression can only take us so far without winning anything. And like I say, when it comes to Madrid, it is just a different gravy. Yeah. It's just a different gravy. Like, it's just completely different. I mean, what player is going to turn around and say no to Real Madrid? Not many players do. There's been big players have gone. Look at Man United. They got rid of David Beckham.
Yeah.
And
Hard to
he
say
went.
no to Bayern Munich, and then even harder to say no to Real Madrid. I know where you're coming from.
Exactly. I can't imagine that anyone would. But like I say, I think that's more of a next season issue because I think next season he might get itchy feet if we don't start doing better.
This is what I'm worried about. What Martin said in the
Yeah,
chat is
I
we got
agree.
one more season. Real Madrid planted the seed. It's what they do. They've done it before with Mbappe, haven't they, Martin? They've done it before with other players, and they get
Yeah.
they get the gears working. They talk to the agent. They let the player know that they're interested or they've been admiring the guy. And also, what a bigger compliment! Pretty much one of the biggest that you can get is to find that out is that Real Madrid are keeping their eyes and their tabs on you. Jason Bell even saying if Real offer enough, Cootie is going. I don't see this happening this summer, though. That's where I stand too, Jason.
Yeah.
Definitely not happening this summer. I think also Romero, even if the offer were to come in relatively close to what Spurs might want, Romero might even hold off and would tell Spurs, or maybe he would want to wait a season or two, just because I don't know. I had this written down, Mia. He has a huge admiration for Postecoglou, and he's been given the captaincy role. Again, Sonny, I think will still be here for a while, but Romero, if he were to be loyal, you could see that captaincy and that captain's armband being his in a couple of years. Is that something that we could think about to lure Romero to keep him here? Is that an enticing, thing for him
No,
to think about?
I don't know if that would be enough for Madrid. I just think that versus Madrid, a captaincy to go to Madrid, who win Champions League after Champions League after Champions League, and when you look at what Bale did, what Modric have done since going there, they've won so many trophies. I think, yeah, you wouldn't say actually I'm going to be captain at Tottenham instead of going to Real Madrid. I'm sorry, I know, like it sounds like I'm trying to get. Listen, if he doesn't want to be here, I don't want no player who doesn't want to be here. That is the bottom line. But I love Romero, as you well know. I would do anything to try and keep him. When I start going, I'm going to start going to more games next season, and because I want to go and see more live games, and I want to see as much of him as possible. So trust me, I will be the last person who will be pushing him out that door because I want to see him more. But if he doesn't want to be here, then for me, he should go. And if next season he's getting a bit of an itchy feet, maybe throwing a bit of a, not a tantrum, but not being too happy, then I can't say that we should keep him. I think that we need to obviously consider that Madrid is just different.
And Dragon says, pretty sure he's a Barca guy. If he were a Barca guy, I think we have a better chance of keeping him in the direction that they're headed. Hansi Flick, don't get me wrong, though, is a brilliant manager, and I could see him turning things around for Barca, but they're in a very different place than what Real Madrid are. And also, they definitely wouldn't be able to afford Barcelona the fee that Spurs would be asking for Romero. That's the start. And can they even then afford the wages? They barely can pay their players on time. So I wonder if that would be a factor for someone like Romero. The last thing I'll add to this is I think he's indicated in the last year or so that he really likes it here and he enjoys playing for Spurs. And I think he has glowing things to say about this club right now since Antonio Conte has left. As much as I've defended Conte, I have, always battled with the fact that Romero is easily my favorite player in this team. And him and Conte butted heads towards the end of the season. And Romero pretty much said, if this guy sticks around, I'll start to look at maybe leaving. And I don't believe in this project or believe in the direction of this club. Antonio Conte goes, Romero pretty much doubled down and showed how much he cares and shows how much he believes in Ange, believes in wanting to build here and try to win something. Even look at his Instagram posts. He's actually posting more for Spurs and like being more emotional about Spurs than he even is about Argentina at the moment. He's not even doing anything on his Argentina post. He's just sort of tagging the handle of the national team.
He did put a video the other day on his Insta of him when he's doing training and stuff with Argentina. Because don't get me wrong, I watched that video more than once. But yeah, and Martin's right. I will be outside with my one girl protest. I'm small but mighty. Don't underestimate me. I will hold on to his feet and be like, please don't go. But yeah, like I say, for me, honestly, I think that it'd be next season that we have to be concerned about. I think this season he's happy, he's settled. But like if Madrid are real and they're actually going to come in and put a decent offer in, I just can't see him saying no, Jack. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, it's different with Real Madrid, right? As you were pointing out, if it were even Bayern Munich, Barcelona, it's actually a slightly different conversation than even with Real Madrid. With Real Madrid, it's practically unfair. You just feel like, yeah, that's inevitable, really, in that case. And I agree with you. Romero, though, he's just become probably my favorite player in this team. It's since
Oh yeah,
he's pretty
mine
much
too.
gotten here, and I think that's the case with you and plenty of others. But it would just be real sad to see him go. I think he's actually capable of being, if not already, I think he is capable of being even better than Toby and Jan were for us. And he's just so brilliant in possession. He's probably one of the best center backs I've ever seen in trying to break the opposition down. Some of the passes he plays out from the back line to get moves started. Probably the reincarnation of Sergio Ramos, if you ask me, with how aggressive he is. He's getting even better in the air. We saw that this last season. He's improved in that department. I think he's just becoming
And
a
also some
complete
of the
world-class
goals he
center back.
scored, and some of the goals he scored as well. Absolute belters that he scored.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the comparison I would say is that Madrid is Thanos, and we're Thor when we don't go for the head, unfortunately. So
Well,
yeah,
it's good that we can brush aside these rumors for now. It's just something Mia looks like, and some people like King Hoddle, Jason Bell, others in the chat are going to be worried about though later on, and they're going to be it's going to be in the back of their minds. It looks like. If everybody in the chat can though, please subscribe over to Mia's channel, Spurs Between the Lines. Feel free to smash the like button over here as well. Good to see Tyler in the house. Good to see Deshaun Faro in here as well. Good to see you all joining us. Appreciate your guys' support. Let's go on to the next bit of rumors. Hojbjerg leaving. This is good because I think we didn't want to make Mia too happy in the beginning of the stream. We didn't want to do Hojbjerg and Emerson back to back and then do Romero. Want to make her suffer slightly more. And Atletico Madrid have renewed their interest in Hojbjerg, Mia, with the Denmark midfielder among several players are looking to move. Lo Celso, Brian Hill, and Jed Spence are also expected to leave Spurs, while Richarlison and Bissouma could also be sold to raise funds if significant offers were to come in. That's again from Tom Allnut of the Sunday Times. Start with Hojbjerg, Mia. If you were to guess a club that he's going to go to, what would it be? And then what's the fee that you think we might get for him?
I think he will go more likely to Atletico. I know that Jose wanted him back at Fenerbahce, but I don't think he's going to go there. I don't think he wants to go there, so that's a bit of obviously a problem. So I think that he will probably go, and the fee is a difficult one. I think we're going to get sort of around the same we're going to get for Emerson. My personal thoughts is what we'll get for him. He hasn't got long left on his contract, has he? So it might be tricky to try and get that much. But listen, I would sell him for 50p in a packet of polos. Let him go. Just let him go, honestly. He's not going to play because he just hasn't got what we need. He isn't a bad player in the system that Ange wants to play, where you've got to be attacking. He just hasn't got it, unfortunately. And it's not a dig out on him. I'm not digging him out as a person because he seems like a nice guy. But yeah, he's got to go. So whatever we need to get for him, we'll get for him. Like 15 million, cool. That's about what, 18 million euros, something like that. So
we know he's a very nice guy too. One of our friends, Ellie, at least we do know that. With
yes.
Hojbjerg, Mia, I have heard from fans like yourself that because of that contract and the fact that he has, indicated for some time now that he's leaving, that the original maybe 30 million pounds, 40 million pounds that we probably would have quoted last year or something like that is actually not the case. And you might be right that Spurs will only get something around 20 to 25 million. Is that, despite what you might think of him, is that a bit of a letdown for you? I know you'll be happy to see him go, because I feel like even if we were to have sold him when everybody was talking about it last year, a year or two ago, we might have been quoting a bit higher prices than 20 million, I think.
Well, the problem was that he was due to go, but the deal got messed up, wasn't it? Because he didn't want to go, and because there's Fulham,
on loan to Fulham, right?
Yeah, because he didn't want to go because he thought he was too good for Fulham, and so I feel like that's part of him not getting a move last year was down to him. I'm not going to lie. So I think that that's going to be the problem. If there's teams that he doesn't want, then I think he's just gonna dig his heels in a little bit, because I know that he wants to go, but he also wants to go to where he wants to go. So that's the unfortunate part.
And with Hojbjerg too, last season, Jason Bell is pointing out that Atletico were the club again that was very interested in him. They just didn't want to throw up the money that we were asking, which I think is right. That higher fee of around £30 million or £40 million, whatever it might have been, and that's the club that he probably wanted to go to. Maybe some of the other clubs that were interested in him, he might have been more set on. But Mia's right. I think there was some sort of type of loan with obligation to buy or something like that with Fulham, and he didn't take it and didn't want it and has been holding out for this Atletico move. By doing that, we now are likely to get a much lesser fee than what we originally would have gotten compared to last summer. So it's a big loss for Spurs in that case. When you look at Hojbjerg leaving, though, Mia, you then start to add up some of the other guys that are pretty likely to leave too. Emerson, Lo Celso, Hill, Ndombele, all of those guys, if I'm not mistaken, are on big wages. And then all of them take up non-homegrown spots. What does that indicate? Anything? Could that mean anything for Spurs?
Yeah, I think we are definitely trying to get out some of these homegrown players, because we know that we need to bulk up that part of our team. So I think that's probably in our minds. We also need to have a certain amount that were actually academy trained as well for Europe. So of course we have to meet that quota. So all these different quotas that we have to meet are obviously going to come into play. And players that aren't playing, if they're non-homegrown, why keep them? They're just taking up a space. So I think it's much better to get rid of them, like a Lo Celso, a Brian Hill, I know Spence as well. They just all need to go. I think they just need to go now, and to make that space. And I think that they will. I do truly think we will get a lot of them gone. Although we might keep someone like Davies, and I don't think people are going to be happy. We're going to keep Richie. Some people might not be happy about that, but we're not gonna get everything done, because we have got a lot to do. And I think the main thing is to clear out all of these deadwood players who've been here for manager after manager, switching what we're doing. So I think that's important, personally.
I bet that Emerson wasn't on tremendous wages, but I'm pretty sure Lo Celso was, and we know Ndombele was. Yeah. Hojbjerg too, I wouldn't doubt, was probably on some pretty good wages too. Not like Lo Celso and Ndombele, but probably close. And Brian Hill, we know, was on some decent wages for his original signing too. So I think that could mean that Spurs have freed up not only a ton of non-homegrown spots, but it really means we could go after pretty much a lot of types of kind of big money signings, because you freed up so much salary with those guys going. But then also you freed up 4 or 5 homegrown spots or non-homegrown spots, so you don't have to limit yourself as much to what type of players you can bring in. Because this summer, Mia, I think we have to prepare ourselves for a lot of the rumors and a lot of the players we're being connected with being homegrown, because we have such a deficit there. We've never gotten those transfers right for a long time now. And it's something we'll continue to see this summer. But maybe these guys all leaving frees up some spots for us in the non-homegrown area.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you say, it's all about wages as well. What we can offer another, like a player, because of course we'll have our highest earner won't be an Ndombele. So of course that means that we can then look at the fact that our highest earner will be Sonny, and the kind of player that he is. So players will come in and think, right, that's the level that we're going to be at. So maybe their wages, they won't be maybe as demanding either to get those high wages, because they look at that and think they have to earn it. Where Ndombele, what did he do for those wages? Absolutely nothing, pretty much.
You could say, as much as we defended Brian Hill didn't really do very much with the wages he earned. Lo Celso didn't do very much. Lo Celso didn't do very much.
I could have done a better job than Brian Hill. He's probably about the size of me, like thin. Actually, I'm probably a bit chunkier than what he is, to be fair. The boy's just a broomstick.
And with how long Lo Celso had been with us, I wonder if you could have reached 100 games as well, Mia. Maybe you could reach 100 games for the club. Lastly, Richarlison, Bissouma could be offered to, or they'd be willing to listen to offers. Do you believe that? Do you buy into that at all? And would you be okay with seeing either or both going?
I think with Richarlison, what he said was very interesting because he didn't say at Spurs, he said staying in England, like in the UK. So that does indicate that if he was going to go anywhere else, it would be, I think, over here. So that could be the case, but I don't think anyone's going to pay for him at the moment. And also, if we get rid of Richarlison, we'd have to get 2 strikers in because we can't just have one. So I think that could be a problem. I think we're going to keep Richie because I think that's probably sensible for now. And I don't think he will leave. That's my personal feelings because I think the money that we would ask for him, I don't think anybody's going to be paying for it. So I don't think people will pay it. So I think that will probably be someone who will stay. Bissouma, he's a tricky one because I've said all along, I want him to stay because I think he has got that in him. But if he hasn't got the drive to better himself, a bit like what Romero did, he this year did so much better. Obviously, Postecoglou, the team who train him, have had words with him, spoken to him, given him expectations of how he needs to be on the pitch, and he's done that. If Bissouma can't abide by that, then we should get rid of him because I think that he needs to have that discipline as well. He can't be getting red cards. He can't be doing those things, and he also needs to do more on the pitch when he is playing. So I think that Bissouma maybe I wouldn't be crazily mad at, but I do think he still maybe has to be given that chance. So if he's got given that chance, I wouldn't be annoyed at it. And if he was sold, depending on who we got in, I don't think I'll be mad at it either. So I'm not really that fussed about Bissouma, I think.
It's hard to imagine either of them leaving because with Bissouma, you'd think that if he has a good season next season, they can definitely sell him for much more than what they brought him in for if they don't like him too much or if Ange Postecoglou doesn't see that much of a future with him. If you were to sell him right now, I don't know if you get close or you could get close, but I'm not sure if you get close to what you originally invested, which would be then.
But the problem is, Jack, is if he doesn't have a good season, then he's going to drop in value. So that's where the conundrum comes in, right? We can't guarantee he will be improving next season. So, like I say, if he takes on board what Ange says and does well, Ange might then think he wants to keep him. But if he doesn't do well, then his price is going to drop. So do we take that risk if he can be spoken to and actually listen and take on board? Like I say, what Romero did, Romero very much took on board, obviously, what was being said to him about his behaviour on the pitch, about red cards, about calming down, showing him, obviously, that you can still be aggressive when you're playing and being a defender, but you don't need to be overly aggressive, you know. So will Bissouma take on board those criticisms and not criticism, but like some critique of his game? It's obviously we'll have to wait and see how he does.
It's a very fair point. I trust Bissouma, and it's a fair question to ask of any player, right? But I do trust Bissouma that he will show that sign of consistency, or at least that sign of quality once again. And we saw it in flashes after his really good spell in the first 10 games. I think we did see some signs of that quality in periods, but it wasn't as consistent as it needs to be for us to truly trust him, I think, in the long term. But I do trust that he'll get back to it. That's just because I think he is a good player, and we have seen that brilliance in him. It's just, can it be tapped into again? And it's not really all on Ange. It's actually a lot more of it, I think, is on Bissouma to focus himself.
I think that's what I'm saying. It's about him being spoken to and him sort of focusing, like you say, himself. But some people need encouragement to have that focus, Jack. Some people naturally have got that focus. When you look at Harry Kane, he didn't need anybody to tell him to stay later on in training, to get there early for training, because he was determined to do it. Even someone like Royale, he got criticism. He read all the criticism and he paid to do better. Somebody who's got that very strong mindset who wants to do it will do it. But some people, I'm one of those. I need someone to tell me. When I go gym, I can't just go to a gym. I need someone to shout at me and tell me, because I'm just not got sometimes that motivation. And I do need someone to encourage me, which is fine because everybody's different, right? So I'm not trying to criticise Bissouma, but I just hope that he will get back to it, because he is a very good player. We saw him what he did at Brighton. So, and we've seen what he can do at Tottenham too. So I want him to get back to that, but it's up to him, like you say, to focus himself, but he might just need that little bit of encouragement. And will he take that on board is the question.
Yeah, Mia's one when she's on the treadmill, she watches Romero crunching challenge compilations in order to motivate her to get through the run.
He put a compilation of his goals, and obviously this season as well. I saw a video of his compilations. I loved it. When watching him doing those tackles, I was like, oh, love it.
I don't expect Bissouma or Richarlison to be leaving this summer. Richarlison, it would take a massive fee, and he didn't have such a bad season that Spurs would be that desperate to sell him for
agreed.
like 30 million or something. I think if a bigger fee around 40 or 50 were to come in, perhaps they would just let him go because he hasn't been that amazing over the whole career. But it would be silly to let him go for less than I think 40 or 50.
I think it'd be silly even with that, Jack. I think that's still, I think for the amount of money would have to replace him. I think that he got better. And I do think that at the end of the day, I think that we need to have two strikers. And I don't think we'll be able to get someone else in as well as someone like for Richie. So I just can't see Richie going, and I'll be happy for him to stay because I think he has got that mentality as well. He's got that bit of like, we said we need some more players that are a bit that spiky personality who aren't just nice guys. And when you look, Porro's a bit like that. Bentancur, I think, has got that in him. Romero most certainly has got that in him. And Richie has got that in him. And I like that sometimes. Richie presses, he gets in their faces, he offers that as well. And I think people underestimate when he comes on, he's a nuisance. He makes a real nuisance of himself. As well. So I think that we would be silly to get rid of him at the moment.
Yeah, and just getting rid of also your second highest goal contributor and also not as many minutes as nearly as much as some. He barely played I think he played something like 1,500 or something minutes or something like that in total that last season with the amount of goal contributions. It was pretty impressive output. But let's keep things moving. Looks like there are going to be a lot of outgoings, but maybe not as far as Richarlison and Bissouma. At least that's just what Mia and I think here. And if you can for me, please, everybody, once again, smash the like button. Get in those comments. Let me know if there's something that you feel like we're missing, any bit of news that we might have missed or something that you might disagree with. But also as well, please subscribe over to Mia's channel, Spurs Between the Lines. Jamie Donnelly loan has been reported as a potential by Alistair Gold. He's caught the eye of many clubs through his performances in the under-21s this last season. Do you expect him to stick around, Mia? Do you have much of a clue as to the under-21s and which ones could be staying in, could be going? Do you have an opinion on Jamie Donnelly and whether he should go or should stay?
I think it's difficult with the under-21s because some of them, I think, do need to go and get that experience to see really what they're made of. Because we did very well, of course, with what we won with the under-21s, and well done to the boys because it's not easy to win stuff, but it is a different level. And with someone like Jamie Donnelly, you hear good things about him, but I don't think he's ready to come and play for the first team. And I think experience is key. So I think a loan would probably be good for him, and then we can see where he's at. Because don't underestimate what loans can do. How someone like Harry Kane went on many a loan. I think that gives you a good idea to what they're about. So yeah, I think that a loan would be a very good move for Jamie Donnelly personally.
Big up to Donovan Oosterreicher. Absolute legend that is Donovan Oosterreicher. Hopefully you got the shades on. Nice and beautiful summer day for you, sir. Got a good workout in planned or already have done it by now. Big up to Jacob, United Spurs of America in the house, saying Jamie Donnelly needs a loan to a Southampton. That's a brilliant club to identify for a loan move. They seem to do very well with creative players, Southampton. They just always have been a good farm for people to cook at. David Hall's in the house too. Good to see you and the whole crew. And with Levy, it's Levy summer. It's always a Levy summer, Davey Hall. And good to see so many other people join in the house
and
today.
Also the disabled team. Big up to Stewie.
Yes, big up to the disabled team. With Jamie Donnelly, I can see why a loan would make sense because you want this guy to get minutes. You want him to get experience. He's so talented that he needs to have that time to learn his craft, learn how to play in different games, different situations. Also, if he's playing at a higher level, at a higher speed, and he's still given that responsibility as the playmaker, as the creator, you could see him doing well with that. Whereas if he were to stick around with Spurs, he takes up more of this kind of backup role where he fills in kind of when necessary or fills in when it suits the whole of the team. If he were to get a move to a Southampton or were to get a move to a championship club, let's say, that's competing for maybe the higher echelon of the table, he would be given that time, given that, that responsibility that he could probably do really well with. So I think you have two different outcomes and two different choices. If he sticks around here, he gets to learn from guys like James Maddison, gets to learn from other players in the team, play with other brilliant, high quality players, because he's going to become a top quality player himself. And it's good to learn, pick their brain, just kind of stick around, train with those really good players. But also, that only goes so far. You do need minutes. You do need real game time experience. And that can only come sometimes from loan spells. I'm torn on it. I think he would benefit from both, really. I think he's at that point of his career where I don't think you would go wrong with either. The only thing, Mia, that I would just lastly add is Spurs so often in the past, I think we're doing a better job now after last season. I think we did a much better job. But in the past, we get these loan spells often wrong. So there can be a risk in also getting the loan destination wrong.
Yeah, there is that. Of course, we'd have to get the loan destination right, but I think he's outgrown the under 21s to a point where he's that good. And I think the only way to get him further experience is not to keep playing with the under 21s, because I don't think he's going to get game time personally with the main team, with the men's team. So a loan, I think, is probably, if we get that loan right, even if we do have to maybe have a couple of loans with him, I think that would be the best way forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'd be curious to see when Dave comes back to see what he's been making of some of the rumors around the youngsters and their departures or, potential of staying. And that's definitely the case with Moore and Hall. Ange Postecoglou has taken a real liking to Mikey Moore and Tyrese Hall in particular amongst those in the academy who performed well last season. That's, again, according to Alistair Gold. With Mikey Moore and Tyrese Hall, the only question I have for you, Mia, is at what point do you see next season them being given these minutes, them being given these opportunities? What games do you think? Is it going to be only the Europa League? Is it going to be at the end of maybe certain games if we're up by a healthy amount? When do we start to see the youngsters being given minutes?
Yeah, I think he'll probably do that. I think it'll be end of games, maybe end of cup games if we're obviously ahead by quite a bit. Like when you start in the cup and you obviously maybe play if you get a less tricky team. I suppose all teams are tricky though, even in Europa. But if we're comfortable, I can see him giving them minutes there, here and there, because I think that's the best way to bleed them in. You don't want to put too much pressure on these boys because they're still very young. You don't want them to come into a pressurized situation, because we all know when fans get on players' backs, it isn't pleasant, and they're still young, and you don't want them to get jaded, because it's easy for these young players to feel jaded by reactions of fans. And we do need to probably protect them a little bit and bubble wrap them. Although you obviously don't want to protect them too much, like you've got to harden them to the game, you also have to understand they're young. So probably, end of games when we're comfortable, I would say. And then maybe hit them, if we're comfortable earlier in the game, put one of them on then. I can see maybe happening if we're super comfortable, that is.
And I'll get to this in just a second from King Huddle. It's actually a worthy question when it comes to the competitions that we'll be in. With Tyrese Hall and Mikey Moore, they're younger than Jamie Donnelly. In fact, I think in Tyrese Hall's case, he might be a year or two younger than Jamie Donnelly. I think he's only 18. Mikey Moore is 16 or 17, right? So these guys are too young to be sending out on loan at this point, but they're also, weirdly enough, kind of too good to only be playing in the under 21s. So it's delicate. You have to not give them too many minutes where, like you say, you're jarring them, or you're throwing them into the deep end too quickly, but you also don't want to bore them with just only under 21s action that they're practically too good for at this stage, because these are very, very talented boys, and we need them to feel like they can be rewarded or be seen for their contributions and for their success so far. So Spurs just have to get it right, and it's Ange Postecoglou's job, really, as well as some other people in the coaching staff, to get that right for next season. King Hoddle saying, I want us to go strong in competitions, though I'm not for wholesale changes. We always run into this problem, Mia, every year.
Yes.
We want us to see, plenty of people want the team to be rotated, give people rest, give other people opportunities. And then other fans will say, what do you mean? This is a competition. This is something we need to win. We want to have trophies. It's that tough balance.
Yeah, again, it is balance. But if we improve our team and we get rid of squad players, Royale and Hojbjerg, and hopefully have better players, then when we do make those, if we make 2 or 3 changes, I think that's still going strong in a cup competition. I think massive wholesale changes, absolutely not. I think defensively we should keep the same. I don't want to see anything be changed. Or, well, I suppose Jagusin in cup games maybe, but I think that mostly it needs to stay the same. And then I think, like I say, those changes need to be 2, maybe 3 changes max. And because now we're hopefully going to have better players, that won't be a problem. It's because before we had players like a Lo Celso, like I say, like a Hill, like a Royale. They're the players that we do not what we don't want. So we don't want them playing in those competitions. But like I say, hopefully if we improve our squad, a few changes won't be a big deal.
Mm. And quickly moving on to the other youngster that could be out the club, potentially, is Lancashire. Middlesbrough are holding talks with Tottenham to sign 19-year-old striker Will Lancashire. Borough have already made a contract proposal to him. There is also competition for him from clubs in Europe, with an outright sale not ruled out. That is interesting, that it's not just loan offers or something like that that's being given to Spurs. There are these outright standing transfer offers. Do you see that happening at all this summer, Mia, that maybe Spurs will cash in on one of the guys, or some of these guys could even be tempted by this interest from abroad or from other clubs? They might think that it's bigger wages, more opportunities. Could we see one of them leaving?
Possibly, because if he thinks that when he's not going to get any time in the first team and he thinks he's good enough to be playing in that first team, I suppose, if he feels like, hold on a second, because we have got Alejo Olise as well, don't forget, he'll probably go back out on loan. It's about that pathway, right? If he can't see that pathway to being able to get those games, I wouldn't be that shocked. It'd be sad to see some of these youngsters be sold because, like I say, the under-21s have been really good, and obviously I think that it'd be sad to break them up, but I think that if he's got ambitions to play first team football on a level up, then I wouldn't be that shocked that he would go. But I think a loan I think maybe a loan would be a good idea if it's something he wants to do is play the first team football, so we wouldn't sell him necessarily.
Paul Connor has said if we were to sell some of these younger talents, that we have to include some serious buyback clauses into it. And I'd agree with him there. With Lancashire, I think he needs a good loan spell out to ideally a championship club, one where he would be given lots of minutes and given responsibility, like I sort of described with Jamie Donnelly. What I like about Lancashire is that he's very tall, he's very physical. So I'm not too worried about him being bullied or finding it so hard in the championship or something like that, because he's a guy that suits, I think, the typical English number 9 striker mold. And you could see him, while it might not be the style of play that we play now, I could even see him being quite effective for like a get it launched or, kind of approach. Like a Sean Dyche could even, get some use out of someone like him, that sort of style. So I actually think what makes life easy for Lancashire is there are a host of clubs that I could see wanting him, but also that he could have an easy time trying to contribute with. Whereas guys like Troy Parrott, I think Dane Scarlett, those sort of guys in the past, we have found it hard to, find the ideal club to suit their play style, or even just to suit what we want the club to be training them with. Whereas with Lancashire, I think he could do well at a variety of clubs. But moving on into or some of the last ones, but certainly not the least ones. Olise to Chelsea. That's been apparently broken by Darren Lewis at the Mirror today. Mia, Chelsea make the first move to sign £60 million rated Michael Olise and hope to steal a march on Man City, United, Arsenal, and Liverpool. Do you think Crystal Palace would be able to sell Olise and Eze this summer? If not, then how important is it that Spurs get this Eze deal done?
I was explaining to you in the back room, what's actually going on is that other people actually have approached for Olise, but Crystal Palace have not actually specified exactly what the release clause is. So you have to go through Crystal Palace, and if Crystal Palace don't want to tell you, they're not going to tell you what the actual release clause is, which means then you can't trigger it. So I suspect they'll speak to Olise and say, do you want to go to this team? And if he says no, they're like, well, we're not going to tell you. Or if they really don't want him to go, they're going to say, we're not telling you the exact amount. You can keep trying to put amounts in, but if you put the exact amount, have you been tapping him up? Because I've got a feeling that the exact amount is not a rounded number, because I think that you could try and guess and put 60 million in, but the club again could still reject it. They could say, no, because it's not enough. If it's not, like I say, it's not going to trigger it, because they have to agree. Even if the release clause is paid, they have to still okay it. So I think that they've made it that little bit more complicated to do it as directly, like as what we all know what happens nowadays with players is that normally the player agrees to the terms, and then you approach the player and will approach the club and agree a price, because mostly they agree the terms first. So I think, yeah, we do need to get the Eze deal done. I've only read one, only a few people are saying that Eze's got a release clause. Some people with Eze are saying it's not a release clause. It's just what price that they've put on him. So I'm not entirely sure. So we need to hurry ourselves up, because I think that we've been really whining him and dining him, obviously having him in the box, little things, chats with Sonny, all this and all that. But if it doesn't amount to nothing and they shut the door on him, we're stuffed. We're not going to be able to get him, because I say, we're not selling him. Even if he wants to go, they could do a little bit of what we did with Kane and hold him hostage a little bit and say, well, mate, you're not going because Olise's going, so we can't afford to let both of you go.
Yeah. I was under the impression, Mia, that both had a release clause in their contract, but I could be mistaken as well. Anybody in the chat that certifiably knows, let us know.
I've read different things, Jack. I've read some places say it's a release clause. Some people say that it's just a price they're putting on him, which is 60 plus 8, is what I've read.
I know what you mean. I've also been confused this entire time.
It's not very clear with Olise. It's been very clear that it is a release clause with Olise. So
whereas with Eze, not so much, you think?
Yeah, it's been a bit muddied the waters with him.
And you don't see Crystal Palace selling both in the same summer, right?
I think they'd be very silly to do that, because I think they're their two best players. So I think that to get rid of both of them would be very foolish, and I don't think they're going to do that. New manager, he's come in, he's done pretty well, and to sell both of them, I just can't see them doing it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and we've been in this position before where we've spoke about, I think, selling like Kane and Son at the same time, and I think we've just, at least me and Dave, have always said that would just be silly to sell kind of back to back, your best players in a row. And I think Crystal Palace would be in danger of doing something similar here, where they just be selling basically their two best players back to back in the same season, and you just can't do that. You'd just be setting yourself up for either stagnation or falling backwards. And they just brought in a big new manager and Oliver Glasner. It wouldn't make sense, I think. If they're that desperate for cash and the owners don't want to spend, I guess it's another thing. You'd like to think that they aren't that desperate for cash. I wish they were, but I don't think they are. So I'd expect that they'd only sell one of the two, and maybe then the following summer they would think about selling the other one. They're not the same club that Spurs are, where they have to be competing for the top 4, top 5 every year. But again, they want to have some signs of progress, you think, Crystal Palace. So for them to sell both in the same summer, I think would just be setting themselves up for a very, very long project with Glasner. So yeah, I just don't see it happening. And that then means, Mia, we got to be moving quickly with Eze. I think we have been moving relatively quickly for such a big signing, for such a big move. I don't think that was ever going to happen before the transfer window starts. He's also headed off to the Euros, which makes things even harder. I do feel like that we're getting good signs. Like, we met with his representatives. We've been seeing rumors about us, being the leaders in the negotiations. We have a lot of things going for us in the deal. The only thing that everybody's worried about is whether Levy would actually spend that much, because it basically would, I think, be a record-breaking transfer fee. for Spurs if we were to bring in Eze. Any of this cause you worry, or do you think Spurs are going to get him over the line?
I think I'm more worried because I think that it doesn't matter the amount of meetings we've had with him, things that we've done. It doesn't matter because if they get Olise at Chelsea, then they're going to say to Eze, "You're not going, mate. Sorry." That's what I'm saying. I just don't think that it's going to happen. That's my honest opinion. There is Olise has got a release clause, because I was watching one of the experts the other day talk about it, and that's what I said about the complication with nobody actually knows the exact amount, so they have to go through Crystal Palace first to find out that exact amount, but they have to agree to give them the exact amount. So, but yeah, with Eze, we're going to have to move fast if this is the case. But like I say, other clubs have approached and nothing's come of it. So we don't know if Chelsea are going to approach and that basically Crystal Palace slam the door in their faces and say, no, we're not selling him. Sorry, he's not going to you. Because that could still be the case. Olise has to agree to it. The club have to agree to it. So just because Chelsea come knocking, it doesn't mean that it's all going to be agreed.
It's an odd one with Olise too, because they agreed some sort of deal in January that last season, but then it fell through for some reasons, which worries me that they can easily get a deal done this time, or they might not because it fell through the other time. He also is a Man United fan, so that's also makes things weird.
I think it fell through, Jack, because of this whole tapping up thing. I think that they backed off because Crystal Palace were like, whoa, have you been talking to him when you're not supposed to be doing that, because you're supposed to come through us first to find out the amount. If you're already putting in a deal or agreements, that should be done, because that's not how they're trying to do it. They're trying to get them, whoever it is, to go through Crystal Palace first, so then they can control it a little bit. And I think that's why they backed out. That's what I read anyway, or what I heard as well. That's why. But the fact that, of course, that they've got that control over it means that they're probably going to do the same sort of thing with Eze. They're not going to be easy. They're not going to be. It's not going to be, I don't think, a particularly easy deal to do.
It's difficult. If they get that Olise deal done first, I'm very worried about us getting the Eze deal done. I just don't see them selling both this summer. I'm a big fan of Eze, and I would be really sad. He's someone who I've probably one of my favorite players outside of any Spurs player in general around Europe. I'd be very sad.
I'll be very sad as well for Olise to go to Chelsea, because what a waste to go to Chelsea, because he is a fantastic player. I said it, I can't remember what game it was. I remember messaging my brother and going, oh my God, Olise, I would love him at Spurs because he's so brilliant. Like, I was just like, I absolutely love Olise. So if he goes to Chelsea, I think that it's a bit of a crazy one what's going on there. So I think it'd be a shame for him to go to Chelsea, if I'm honest. I think it'd be a bit wasted. But yeah, it will be sad for us not to get Eze, because I really like Eze as well. I think he's got so many good attributes. He can take a man on. He's strong with the ball. He'll just run through the middle of the park. Like, he just bounces, people bounce off him because he's a big guy, isn't he? He's a big lad. So he's definitely not like, with Maddison, we've seen him sometimes be a little bit more of a twinkle toes, where he'll just be like light on his feet, he's little and nimble, where Eze is more like a bulldozer. He just runs through. So I think that he's different to what we've got with Maddison.
Dave, I know, is also, like yourself, a huge fan of Olise and really wanted him, and probably also would be very sad to see him go to Chelsea, and then by turn then likely missing out on someone like Eze. But we'll keep things moving. Maybe another time we could talk about, if that deal is really to follow through, who are some alternatives, I guess, to Eze. But we'll keep it moving here. Gallagher quotes have come out basically suggesting that he might not be that interested in a move this summer, saying, my full focus is on the Euros right now. I couldn't be happier with the position I'm in. It was sad to see Pochettino go. He's done so much for me, but I'm really excited for the new manager coming in and working with him. These quotes, on top of some rumors that Chelsea might be changing their tune about selling him. They might actually be offering him a new deal. What do you think? Is the Gallagher transfer going to happen, Mia? Is it not going to happen? Where do you stand on it?
I don't think it's going to happen. I've said this for a while. I think that at the end of the day, he doesn't want to come to Tottenham because he's a Chelsea boy. He's happy where he is, And even if they don't offer him another deal, Jack, he can basically ride out his contract and get a massive signing on fee and go to whoever he wants. So I can't see him coming to Tottenham because I just don't think he wants Tottenham. So no, I don't think he's going to come to Spurs, and I think that he's going to stay there regardless whether he gets a new contract or not, and collect his wages and then be like, see you later. I can go and go to whoever I want, sign on fee. So I think that's what he's going to do. I think that I never really thought that he would come to Tottenham because of those reasons. And he's a Chelsea boy. He's not going to come. I know people say he's a professional, blah blah, but I just don't think he wants to, because I think I've read not so roundabout way. He said he doesn't want Tottenham. So.
Well, his family, I know, is very Chelsea. He's Chelsea. It's just everything about him has been Chelsea pretty much his whole life and his whole upbringing. It would be hard to imagine him so early in his career, so young, to then be kind of putting his faith and putting the rest of his career in Spurs' hands. It just would be, in his case, something he would never have expected. The only thing I was guessing was the Todd Boehly regime. The Yanks that are running Chelsea right now, it's gone so poorly that I wonder if this is slight resentment or something. Like maybe he would go to Tottenham out of like resentment of what Todd Boehly and others are doing at Chelsea right now. That's the only thing I could think of.
I don't think he's a Judas. I don't think he'll do that. I just
but maybe
can't
like
see
his
him.
Chelsea love has been crushed, by kind of Todd Boehly, or at least tainted.
Do you know what? It might be slightly tainted, maybe a little bit like what Kane was with us, because he kind of lost that thing for Tottenham because he did want it. It was, like I say, a long time coming. But I can't see the amount that he loves Chelsea and been brought up with Chelsea. I can't see that ever being washed away enough to want to wear Lily White. I just can't see it personally.
Do you see any players out there that are similar to him? Because Ange Postecoglou was so set on him. I made a video for the members about why I think he is one of Ange Postecoglou's favorites. I think a lot of it actually has to do with what he does defensively. He works so hard in the press and works so hard off the ball. And he has that tendency just to be at the right place at the right time for like a box-to-box kind of goal scorer. I think those two things is what Ange really likes about him most. That would be my guess. Is there anything, that you see in Gallagher's game that we could see in another player that instead of Gallagher that we could bring in?
Joe, what, we've been linked to so many different players, Jack, because the thing with Postecoglou, he doesn't necessarily like numbers. He always said that he prefers players that are a bit more multifaceted. And I think we've been linked with so many different types of midfielders. So I can see that we're probably going to be looking a bit more far and wide with what we look at. And I think that people will probably be surprised. I don't think we're necessarily going to get what people want, which is that number 6, because I think that people want us to get a number 6, but I don't think that he actually plays like that. He wants players that, like I say, can be a bit more of a mixture. Like with Eze, can play different positions. He's not someone who's necessarily set in one position. So I think that that's probably more that we're going to look at. Names on the top of my head, do you know what? I can't think. We've got so many names in my head that we've been linked to, or that we've been that have looked like, that player's got this trait, this player's got that trait. It's really difficult to say. As long as Ange gets what he wants, is what I would say.
Yeah. Ederson has been someone we've been linked with. It's hard to know what. He's more of a number 6, but he's not exactly the greatest, I think, in possession. I think he's fine in possession, but he's not, your typical Xabi Alonso deep lying number 6. He's more of like a destroyer. That's what I think is similar to him with Gallagher, is that they both are good tacklers, both know how to get stuck in and work really hard for the team. That's not exactly what we want, though, in the deep lying position, I think.
No, and I think, like I say, with Conor Gallagher on the ball, I think he's probably slightly better as well than Edson. And I just don't think that's what Ange wants. I think he wants good ball playing midfielders. I think that's important. And so I don't think we're going to go for someone like him personally. Yeah,
I feel you. Well, everybody, let us know. Are the Gallagher transfer rumors that we've been basically seeing since like January, it feels like, will those finally start to go away?
Do you know what? We've actually been linked with Conor Gallagher since last summer. I did a video on him last summer, I think it was.
Well, Mia's been waiting for this one to end. She'll probably be happier than anybody else.
I'll be like, I never have to put Conor Gallagher on my thumbnail again. I'll be very happy about that.
Tammy Abraham, this will be the last one, perhaps maybe the least, but Tammy Abraham, Tottenham are aware that Tammy Abraham could be attainable this summer. Sources in Italy suggest he may be sold for as little as £20 million. Spurs are yet to make a firm decision on whether to make a move or not. Is he even an upgrade on Richarlison, Mia? Let's start there.
No, and he's always injured, and he's ex-Chelsea.
What's our obsession with ex-Chelsea right now? Why is that?
Not sure about this one. He's always injured, so for me, absolutely not. I know that Richie's had his injuries as well, so we can't afford to have two of them that are injured. So no, I think we would be very, very silly to get Tammy Abraham, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'm also perplexed by this obsession with buying ex-Chelsea players. I don't think he's an upgrade on Richarlison. There was a moment at Roma where he was really, really good. It's just he's injury prone. Jose is gone. Jose was the one who really got the tune out of him. It's now a different manager with De Rossi, who I think has probably different plans than Tammy Abraham at the moment. So his career is just not worth saving, I think, by Spurs. That's the thing. His career is headed in a different direction, and we'd be basically saving it or trying to put it back on the right ship. And I just don't think we need to do that. Also, the fact that he isn't much of an upgrade on Richarlison, I don't see the point then, because everybody isn't that keen on Richarlison. There's still so much divide, so much debate over whether he really is good for us in the long run. So what's the point then of bringing in a guy like Tammy Abraham to be this, I guess, maybe decent competition, but really not good enough? And he wouldn't be starting week in, week out ahead of him. He doesn't walk into the team, I think, straight ahead of Richarlison. And that's what I think people are expecting this summer, Mia, is for us to be going after a striker that would technically walk in straight ahead of Richarlison if we were to bring in one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, honestly, I just don't think that Tammy Abraham is it. I really honestly don't. I'm just looking at his record, like this season, he's only played 8 games, started 2, and scored 1 goal.
No, it's just injuries, and he's just not being favored anymore.
Yeah, it's just so many injuries, and he had a massive injury, like from August to near to the beginning of April, pretty much. He was injured. Yeah. So no, thank you. I don't care how much he is. I know, like, obviously people say it's a cheap signing, whatever, but no, I don't want another sick note. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And then do you even believe this rumor then, Mia? That's my last question. And because it's a cheap option, and maybe it just makes sense that a journalist might think that Spurs would be after a cheap option.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of lazy journalism, and I think that it's a bit lazy because they assume it's cheap, so Spurs are going to maybe go for him. They're aware. Joe, when the word aware, like, I'm aware of a lot of things, but it doesn't mean I'm going to do anything about those things that I'm aware about. So I just think Spurs are yet to make a firm decision. So we've not even made a decision. So why is he reporting? So it could be that we're aware, but we're not making a decision yet. So what the heck is this? What is this bit of journalism? It's absolute pants. I think that my 7-year-old nephews could write better than this.
Yeah, well, I just think it's not maybe something we have to take too seriously. And that's even the case with some of the other stuff we might have been mentioning earlier. These are just transfer rumors. We're just looking at some of the news that's been about.
Oh, yeah, I understand we've got to talk about it, but I'm just saying the actual journalism and what he actually, the way that he worded it was absolute nonsense. It reminded me a bit of Dr. Zeus, Green Eggs and Ham. It's like a bit like nonsensical rubbish.
Well, Mia, thanks for helping me out today. Thanks for going through this news with me. Dave should be back tomorrow, everybody, and hopefully we can get him back feeling strong, feeling better. He'll be with us for the Euros watch along that we'll be doing on tifo. If you want to know more about that, it's in the description down below. There's a link, referral code. Please head on over, and we'll be doing so many watch alongs throughout the Euros. But let's talk about Mia's channel first. Mia, anything that's coming up over there? Thank you once again for helping me out.
Make sure you smash the like button for Jack, keeping things going as well. Big up to Dave. I hope you're feeling better, because it's not nice, bless him. So I hope you're feeling okay. And yeah, I do my daily videos. Like I say, they're released at 8 a.m. UK time. But for members, they're released around half an hour earlier. So if you're a member, you get that news that little bit earlier. Like I say, I make sure I check every single morning all the latest news that's coming out. When it comes to Tottenham transfers, I also put out shorts as well. So if there's anything breaking that I've not got an opportunity to do a video about because it's later on in the day, I do put out shorts as well. So all the breaking news I can get hold of, I do put it out there for everybody to be able to see.
Everyone, please show Mia some love. Please subscribe over to her channel. Check her out. Plenty of good stuff going to be coming out over there over the summer. She's up earlier than the rest of us. She's sharper than the rest of us in the morning. Good stuff will be out over there. And like she said as well, if you can for me, please smash the like button. I'm trying to do my best to fill in before Dave comes back. Hopefully we'll get him back tomorrow. Like I said, too, Euros Watchalong, Scotland, Germany. We'll see you there for tifo. Please join us. Please head on over there. We'll be doing that game. We'll be doing Spain versus Croatia on Saturday. We'll also be doing the England game too. Maybe you might not like us as much for that game, but please do join us. Feel free to banter us. Feel free to go against us in that case. But all of you guys, really do appreciate you tuning in. Thanks for joining us. We'll be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs. In the big Antrim
Come on,
trust.
you Spurs.
We never stop. See everybody.
Everywhere we go.